I think dropping it from 50 to 35, I don't think was the best. Maybe, like you said, there are some political reasons why that has to be done. You see, as far as I'm concerned, there's a difference between the French-speaking and the English-speaking groups in ECOWAS. There is a lot of unity of purpose, a lot more of unity of purpose within the French-speaking countries. The reason being that, to a very large extent, there's a serious loyalty to their colonial masters, together, all of them. So, but among the English-speaking, countries are even introducing non-tariff barriers against other countries that are within the same circle. So that's why 2015, I think Nigeria is holding the ace. But what I don't understand is why we should accept 35 as against 50, because revenue drop is going to be very, very drastic.
Yes, because that 35% is supposed to be on sensitive products, isn't it? And the sensitive products are, what are we looking at?
When we talk of sensitive products, that was the foundation on which the infrastructure of the CET itself was built. The argument at the beginning was, okay, for essentials, medicaments, HIV, treatment drugs and things like that, books, all those things should come on
0.5%.
And then raw materials to come on 5%. Intermediate goods to come at 10%. Intermediate are finished goods in a sector, but are not consumable. For example, automotive windscreen. You finish it, it's not usable unless it goes to the assembly plant to build a car. So intermediate products will take 10%, and then finished products will take 20%. But products that are seen to be strategic to economies within this region, where we have adequate capacity or comparative advantage, these ones will go to 35%.
What kind of products are those?
For example, in Nigeria, we've done very well with cement these days. 10 years ago, we were doing 2.5 million tons of cement, but today we are doing well over 20 million. That's fantastic growth. And the potential is that if ongoing plants come on stream towards the end of next year, Nigeria may end up becoming a net exporter of cement. So to a country like Nigeria, cement production, where the raw material input is almost 90% is available locally, it's a strategic sector. Right. And of course, Nigeria will want to protect that sector. So if you make a case that cement, for example, should be 35%, that's a logical reason for it.
But then you see now, this introduction of the single tariff is supposed to also kickstart negotiations with the EU on the economic partnership agreement. Now, would this not lead to a high influx of imports? Because that's what everybody seems to be complaining about, and I'm guessing that's the stance that's the angle that the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria is also coming from. So will this not actually be more of shooting ourselves in the leg before we even start?
I think also that, you see, there will be the disappearance of the prohibition list.
Prohibition list?
The CET.
All right.
We mean that we won't have prohibition list, and then we cannot use any other means, any tariff means, to be able to control the economy. Of course, the influx of goods from Europe is going to happen. I think the hardest hit, or the sector that will be the hardest hit, will be the manufacturing sector. And that's why I really think that we should ensure that our position is good enough before we sign this. I mean, when the EPA came, everybody, Nigeria was one of those who are held responsible for the non-signing of it. But the point was that we had a position, and we knew that we cannot sign because it will hurt at that point in time. Just like you said, now that we are, because it's like that was waiting for the CET to be concluded before we go into that. Now that we seem to have concluded with the CET and we're going into that, I don't think we have a strong position any longer to be able to get what we want in that EPA. That's my opinion.
No, because, looking at the fact that a lot of reforms seem to be going on, especially in agriculture, in the power sector, even in manufacturing. We know that the recent new automotive policy, just also came out. all in the bid to strengthen that sector. Will all of that now also give us a strong footing, or should we wait to see how much this is going to affect the sector, the economy, before we even begin to think about accepting this common external tariff?
Well, you opened discussion on this issue by saying we're shooting ourselves in the foot. I think it's more than that. The CET conclusion is greatly influenced by the EPA, because EPA will not go on unless we have a common market. So the rush by West Africa to establish a common market did not just drop from the moon. It's greatly influenced by the Economic Partnership Agreement currently under negotiation. EU, because of quite a number of contentious issues that have stalled the negotiation of the EPA, EU had opened a fresh window. It was okay, let us lay aside contentious issues and focus primarily on market access in goods only. Goods only means manufactured products. And the stand of MAN has been very clear from the beginning, that Economic Partnership Agreement negotiation is a negotiation between two unequal partners. There is no level of play that we can match EU in terms of technology, in terms of volume output, in terms of incentive from government. We are far, far, far away from the mark.
So shouldn't that be the focus right now? Shouldn't we be trying to ensure that we are at least at a certain par before we let ourselves open, and then leave ourselves vulnerable to whatever factors or market forces will hit us?
There's in fact an issue which you raised earlier. Why didn't it kick off the CET in 2007? We said, give us time so that we can. And then you also mentioned that our position right now seems to be worse than it was at that point in time. Because you see, this whole thing has to do with logistics infrastructure and the competitiveness of the nation.
Market factors as well.
Exactly. So there is so much to be done here for us to be able to benefit from this. We are all crying that the manufacturing sector is on its way out. And what we're actually trying to do now is to aid its exit faster than it should be. So I really don't know. Maybe I should join Harriet in asking a question. That MAN was represented throughout the negotiation for the CET. Is there any reason? I mean, because we cannot see fire and put our hands in it. Is there any reason why we willingly accepted this, knowing all the negative implications that the country stands?
Well, we're quite aware of the negative potential implications. Because when CET started, it was more of government-to-government negotiation. It was at the meeting in Mali, in Bamako, in 2010, that MAN, under the flag of Nigeria, moved the motion that the private sector should be included in the negotiation process, because the private sector that will drive the process are not government. There were serious challenges and opposition to that motion. But eventually it was carried on the platform that, one, it has to go to Summit of Head of State to approve restructuring, to include additional 16 member countries in the CET negotiation committee. And of course, it has financing challenges. On our part, Nigeria, we opted, while we wait for the endorsement by the Summit of Head of States, let each country sponsor its private sector representative. And since 2010, MAN joined the negotiation process, and we've done our best to attend every meeting at our own cost, all in the interest of the nation.